Morning, everybody. It is September 8th, Monday morning. Welcome to my channel. On Friday, we had quite a bull trap that happened. We had weak jobs data, and I talked about this in my channel. I said it's going to be really weird to trust this data because it was such a big miss in the ADP, and unemployment went up, and we just went up. And I'm trying to think to myself, are these rate cuts getting priced in? And I still don't know. But I think it gave a lot of uncertainty. Also, AMD and Nvidia were down pre-market. Now I found out later that was because of some tariffs on semis or something. So we sold off hard. That was a big bull trap. I mean, we sold off hard. It was panic. And then we kind of bottomed at levels that I expected. I did have a short that I took. And I got pretty good excursion on my short. You could even see it in my Discord. I moved my stop to break even. I think I got almost like close to 12 points. And then I just, the trade almost would have worked out. The drop happened a little later, but I would have missed my target by 3 ticks. I might have taken it off at that point. I'm not sure. But that's just how trading goes. I knew that I was actually in a conversation live, sharing my screen with one of my members in the community, friend of mine, and I was telling him there is one problem about my short. We're up against the most traded price of the month, which is 64.70, and I was explaining to him, and 64.80 was a high volume node. So I was like, this might not get the excursion I want because of that. However, the internals were weak, so I thought we would get at least another move to the downside. We did, but then I even texted him later and said we should probably going to go higher now, and we did. So that's what's going on now. We have a lot of data coming up this week: CPI, PPI. All right. The FOMC, I believe, is the following week, the 17th. So you know, all roads are leading to there. There's actually like a little bit of a chance now that there's a 50 point rate cut now, but we'll have to see. It's this market is really crazy. This is September. We just made all-time highs in the SPY again on Friday. It's just crazy. Um, I mean, this just seems to be, for myself, we're getting very overdone to the upside. Um, I think we're due for some correction. Again, the timing of that nobody knows, but it just feels like that. But people are trained to buy the dips, so that's what's been happening. All right, that's what's been happening. Um, let's just get into it now. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use volume profile, market profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's where I construct my game plans from. All right. I also use market internals. That lets me anchor view ups and market internals. That lets me know what's going on under the hood of the market. If I don't have that, I feel like I am blind. Okay, because price action can fool everyone. Okay, it can fool everyone. But when I look at internals, it grounds me. All right. So I also just updated my weekly expected move this morning indicator. Earlier in the week, I showed everybody the SPX hit its expected move on Tuesday. That was the low of the week. That was the low of the week. Okay. Certain little standouts that broke their expected moves last week was Broadcom. They had lights out earnings, but it literally closed right above its expected move. It literally dropped about like almost $22 from the open. Pretty much everybody took profits from that off the open. AMD hit its expected move to the downside, Google actually breached its expected move to the upside. Those are the ones, and Netflix also hit its expected move to the upside and closed underneath it. Okay. Now, hopefully, if you're new, please subscribe, set alert. Let me be your information on the markets. Okay. Give you the market story. Let me be your cup of coffee, water, tea, your choice of beverage, and just listen to me. Anybody can listen to me in the beginning. Good morning, Chief. Anybody can listen to me. I don't think it's hard what I'm saying. I'm going to talk about the news. And is this humble pie here? Um, so anybody can benefit, right? I really do believe that because I'm going to give you the market story, the straight shot of what's going on in the markets, leaders and laggers, economic calendar, market news. All right. Then follow that with technical analysis. Now, the technical analysis, yeah, maybe if you're new and you just want to know what's going on in the markets, that's probably a little advanced. And then we get more advanced as the stream goes. We look at market profile and volume profile. Okay. So hopefully you sign up, right? Now, if you want more details, right, which I always want more details, my personality, right? You want more granular, more in-depth knowledge, right? Market commentary. You're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Okay? Take advantage. Use me as your indicator, right? So if we go to my Discord, you can see it every day. I give you live market updates, give you videos, let you know what I'm seeing as the market is going. I actually show you my trades, right? So this was the trade I put on right here. I shorted the ES at 12:23 p.m. right there. So you could see I was already getting a nice excursion, and then even better excursion here. And I was like, all right, if this breaks, this should fall. I don't know how far. And then it winded up getting my break even. So free trade, yeah, I think I got 2 to 1 at one point, but that doesn't matter. I was looking for 3 to 1. It's all good. It's all good. So I give you my trades, and I give you everything that I'm seeing, right? And of course, you can go to the weekly expected move channel, and I posted that this morning. Okay, so you can put that up either on your mobile, use your app, the Thinkorswim app. You can apply it there. You can apply it on your Thinkorswim desktop software as well. It goes right on your charts. A lot of the tickers that everybody cares about. All right. Last week, SPX showed the expected move was hit to the downside on Tuesday morning. On Tuesday morning. Okay. Might have been Tuesday morning, actually. All right. So, join the Discord. All right. Now, like I say, I do a lot of audio message videos, right, during the day. I'm going to keep doing that, right? But if anybody wants me to go live, show some interest, you want me to go live, I will. And then you get live commentary, right, of what's going on. But if I don't get a little interest, I'm not going to be in a room by myself, obviously. So I'll just continue to do what I'm doing, right? I have no problems with going live at all. So let me know. Shout me out and let me know. Okay? Now, why don't we get into futures? Let's see what's moving markets this morning. Crude. Let's see. Bitcoin's up to 112. Crude is up 2%. All right. Now that is interesting. All right. Now crude is at the most traded price, I believe, of this a rolling year. All right. It's been really like going back in between basically the VPOC of the rolling year. Okay. Now, if crude starts to catch a bid, that's probably not going to be great for the markets. Okay. And crude and the 10-year yield tend to follow each other. So today they're disconnected actually. So the 10-year yield now is down and the crude is up. So that's interesting. The crude generally leads the 10-year. We'll see. We'll see. VIX is up 1.84. Silver's up 0.80. Nasdaq's up 0.35. 30-year bonds are being bought up 0.32. Russell's up 0.25. ES up 0.20. Gold's up 0.14. The Dow is up 0.13. Let's see, the dollar's down 0.10. Ethereum down 0.36. And the 10-year yield cracked 4.2 yields and is down to 4.075 yield. So bonds are continuing to be bought. If that continues to happen, yield should fall. If it falls below 4%, wow. Okay. Let's move on to the Max 7s. Who's leading? Broadcom. Lights out earnings. Okay. Remember they did that 10 billion, I believe, deal with Open ChatGPT. So interesting, right? So they're up 1.23%. Tesla, even though they have lost market share, they're up 1%. Amazon up 0.77, Coinbase up 0.61, Microsoft up 0.59. Okay, but Apple has an event tomorrow. They're going to mention the new iPhone, new hardware. So that's what's coming for Apple tomorrow. Berkshire Hathaway is the lone laggard, but that's not much of a laggard. If we're looking at top sectors, who's leading today? United Healthcare. That stock's been beaten down. They are up 1.89% this morning. I don't know why right now. And really, there's no laggard to speak of. Let's go to the granular. Let's see granular list here. Hood. Now, Robinhood is getting added to the S&P 500. So is AppLovin. So they are getting loving right now. Hood. All right. Now, this is TransUnion, I believe. It's up 4.53%. Canada Goose up 4%. Alibaba is just coming and talking about AI, and they're trying to catch up with America. They're coming out with some stuff, so they're up. Oracle up 2.85. All right. Let's see if there's some laggers here in this granular list. I believe that's T-Mobile. T-Mobile down 5.19%. Verizon is down 3.79. So something with cell carriers in sympathy, they are down. Charter Communications down. Okay. American Tower. I did see some kind of something with SpaceX in the news. We'll get to it. Maybe that's why. All right. Let's go back here. Look at sectors. On sectors, energy is leading the pack. That's crude, right? Technology up 0.48. Technology. Now that's Broadcom. Okay. That's your Broadcom. Discretionary up 0.26. That's your Tesla, your Amazon, Home Depot. Semis, we all know, Nvidia, AMD, and that's also Broadcom. All right. And now at the bottom here, real estate down 0.31. Communications is your laggard this morning. Communications. Now that is your Verizon, your T-Mobile, pushing that down because Google, Meta aren't really down. Okay, so that communications wise, which I saw in that granular list, is taking that down a little bit because Netflix isn't really down. So the T-Mobile, the Verizon, I don't know if I have AT&T in that list. I'm assuming they're probably down as well. So that's what's going on there. Now remember, it's Monday. I don't know if you technically can still consider it the summer, but that's what's going on. All right, so volumes. Let's look at volume today. Always like to look at relative volume. So let's see here. We're at 101%. This is over the last 20 sessions, or 100%. So not bad. Not bad volume. Okay, not bad. All right. Now, let's get into our market news and our economic calendar. Okay. Let's look at the week ahead of us. So we have non-farm. What is that? Non-farm payrolls annual revision. That's interesting. I've never seen that up there before. I know they revise a lot of the numbers every time, but that's at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. That's interesting. I don't think I've seen that up there. Let's see, mortgage rate. Wednesday's PPI. So this week they're switching PPI. We're getting PPI before CPI. Thursday's CPI. So let's see the headline: inflation rate 2.9. We're expecting the inflation to go up 0.2%. Interesting. Interesting. We're expecting core to stay the same, but headline to go up. Very interesting. And Friday, Michigan consumer sentiment preliminary. Okay, so this is important numbers right before FOMC next week. Okay, so very, very important. All right, let's see the juice. Let's see if Trump's got anything on his plate today. Let's see, September 8th. Trump speaks at 10:10. Oh boy, at 10:10. Remember the Apple event tomorrow? I said that's at 1 o'clock. That's great. I'm not a fan when the market is like in the heat of prime time and Trump speaking. It's not really fun. Whatever he says sometimes can blow you out of a position very easily. It's happened to me multiple times. It's very annoying. Obviously, it could work in your favor as well. It's just annoying. All right. Let's look at some stock news here. So Alibaba was spoke about that earlier. ADR's rose 3.3 after the Chinese technology giant released what is seen as its biggest artificial intelligence model yet as it moves to compete with the likes of OpenAI and Google DeepMind. Apple stock gained 0.1 ahead of its jaw-dropping event on Tuesday, where it's expected to unveil its latest hardware, including the iPhone 17. Talked about this earlier. Robinhood and AppLovin are going to be added to the S&P 500. Tesla stock rose 1.3 despite Reuters reporting citing data from research from Cox Automotive that the EV manufacturers' U.S. market share dropped. That's why I stated to you earlier. Stellantis stock fell 0.4 after the auto giant said no longer pursue a target of reducing only electric vehicles by 2030. And Chewy stock gained 3.1 after Mizuno upgraded its stance on the pet retailer. Okay, that's what's going on there in some stocks. Let's look over some other news we just talked about. Now, here's the thing I'm not sure, and I think this is why. All right, that those carriers, wireless carriers, are down. EchoStar. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is probably it. EchoStar to sell spectrum license to SpaceX for 17 billion. EchoStar agreed to sell wireless spectrum licenses to SpaceX for its Starlink satellite network for about 17 billion after regulators scrutinize its underused assets intended for a 5G rollout. I have to think that's why the telecommunications is down. Okay. Let's see here. U.S. FDA to fast track nicotine pouch reviews. Let's see. Let's see. I'm just trying to see. Maybe we'll see some more on that EchoStar. Just trying to see here. Let's see. The company agreed to sell wireless spectrum licenses to SpaceX for its Starlink satellite network for about 17 billion dollars after regulators scrutinized its underused assets intended for a 5G roll. The deal comes months after the Federal Communications questioned EchoStar's compliance with build-out extensions and use of mobile satellite service spectrum, raising concerns about whether it was meeting its obligations to deploy 5G in the U.S. Under the terms of the agreement, SpaceX will pay up to 8.5 billion dollars in cash and issue up to 8.5 billion dollars in stock. SpaceX has also agreed to cover roughly 2 billion dollars in interest payments on EchoStar's debt. Okay. Let's see here. Now, HIMS is also up this morning. I think on this news. Let's see here. Ohio to tighten oversight of weight loss copies by limiting inventory. Ohio has taken steps to more tightly regulate how some large drug compounding pharmacies in the state operate, including those making weight loss drug copies, by limiting the amount of medicine they keep on hand. Okay. Just trying to see if there's anything that's eye-opening here. Dow Inc. Jeffries cuts target price 23 to 28. Lowe's TD Cowen raises target price TD 275 from 245. Okay. Wait a minute. What did I see down there? Oh no. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. Let's look at breadth real quick. Always like to look at that. How many percentage stocks are over it? Wow. Back to 55%. We went actually up to 65. Back to 55. Still in the middle, folks. Now, I have to say, that every weekend I do charting, and it's just ugh. All the stocks I look at, all the sectors are just like garbage. I mean, that is garbage. Like, those charts are just horrendous. I haven't seen a chart I liked, I think, almost at all. So, right away, just from me doing that all the time, charting, I just look at it real quick and I'm like, oh boy, this is why the market's doing what it's doing. Like, the sectors are just, ugh. Like, technologies like just coiling, like industrials, like it's just communications was the only bright spot because of Google last week. Just didn't like anything. The only thing I liked possibly a smidge, but I don't like it because of the seasonality and where we're at, is AMD last week broke its expected move to the down. Actually, held its expected move to the downside. Actually, went right to where my indicator said it would go if it went down, right? But it actually hit the anchored VWAP from last year. So I can show you that real quick. Maybe it will just pop up. I think it will. Should. Yeah. Oh, right here. So if you look at AMD, right? Pretty meteoric rise, right? And if we just get into this action here, okay? So just real quick on charting, if you have a 50-day moving average that's moving up, it's in an uptrend, right? So it broke a pretty key level. I was telling about my friend Rosita in this chat here that was a previous monthly low, this level, okay, and that held that level, and I was saying if it broke that level, that could cause a big push down, right? So this is the 2024 anchored VWAP 149, and it came right to that. And notice a lot of stocks when they hit that last year's anchored VWAP. Okay, so just think about it, the beginning of 2024, right? If you bought AMD, the average buyer was making money above that level. Right now we come back, right? So I just don't like the time of the season we're in, but I could definitely see AMD start to kind of base out here. I mean, it can go lower, but I'm saying most times what I see the anchored view up from the previous year hit, that's usually a buy point. Like we can look at Berkshire Hathaway really quick. Just show you what that did when that hit its anchored VWAP from the previous year. See right here? It hit its anchored VWAP from 2024. Look at that wick, and then look at that. Okay? I noticed that a lot. Okay, that's why I keep the 2024 anchored VWAP on here. It held that dip in Berkshire Hathaway. That's the only thing, I'm being honest with you, that I saw where I was like, oh, okay, AMD had a nice pullback, right? To a prior weekly low as well, right here. So I don't know. I'm just saying that's the only thing that stood out to me. Obviously, Tesla as well is coiling up. Okay, if you look at Tesla, look at all this. It's coiling. It's ready to make a move again. Seasonally, it's not the best time, but really that level to watch is like the 355, 356 level in Tesla. This is just coiling. I mean, this is coiling. Look at the moving, and this is what I'm saying. Real quick, if you ever want to just get a good feeling, look at the 50-day. It's flat. The 200-day is flat, right? The 100-day is pointing up a little bit. And we're moving up into that area. Okay? This is coiling up big time. Big time. And just if it takes out, then you got poor structure here, meaning that we went down pretty violently here. We can clean that up, and I can see us coming up to the 400s. Okay? This is just coiling. Okay? All right. I usually don't go over stocks like this, but I just wanted to let you know what I saw. And I'm going to let you know what I see here in XLK. Okay? Look at this garbage. See all of this? I want to just show you why I'm saying I look at the sectors and I see garbage, right? Look at this range. All right? I want to highlight the range. Look at where we are in the middle of this crap. It's garbage. Okay, that's why the market's moving the way it is. It's garbage. All right. The only highlight you got was the XLC, right? Because that was Google. That was Google. Okay. So I do this every weekend, and you can see other things that are just like so consolidated, right? Let's look at real estate. Look at that. Horrible, right? Let's look at the industrials. Horrible. See how they're all just in this mess? Even Staples is like just in a mess. Look at that. This explains why the market does what it does, okay? It's not very hard. Energy is horrible. Look at energy. Look at this. Ugh. Okay? Right? And I look at it real quickly and I'm just like this. This is why I don't want to swing trade. Really don't, not interested in swing trading. It's like, ugh, man. Now, don't get me wrong. There's certain strategies I can use. But just in general, it's just garbage. Okay? Now let's go back. We're here to analyze daily charts. I got a little off tangent here. I hope that you guys understood what I'm trying to say. Trying to show you guys here. All right, now a new weekly expected move is on. All right, so what does my indicator say? We're expecting an $11.15 range this week. Okay, so that range is to the downside 636.09, to the upside 658.39. Okay, that is what the range we're expecting this week. Now on let me put up daily charts on Friday. Crazy markets. You opened here, big gap up, made all-time highs, and then sold off all the way to the 20-day simple moving average. Now I was pointing this out. I was in a conversation in Discord with I told you one of my friends, Amalio, and I told him this could be the problem for my short a little bit because we came into a daily low and held it. I told him that's probably the range for the day. And that's kind of what happened, right? And then what did we do? We closed like right inside the previous day, about the 50%, the midpoint of that day. So, pretty ugly, right? Now, if you go, I just want to make another point, right? If you look at a weekly chart, I was pointing this out too to him. We didn't do anything. So, we closed, let's see here. Let me make sure that I'm on the right here, SPY. So we closed, we're here for the week, and the close last Friday was there. It almost unchanged. Look at the previous week's close, right here. We're not doing anything. Look at the other previous week, here. We're not going anywhere. You see what I'm saying? It's just garbage. So let me make sure this time is right here. Should be 3 years. Okay. So where are we at now? 648.60. 648.60. We're not in a great place, folks. We're right in the middle of Friday's session. Horrible trade location. Okay, not great. Not great. All right. Let's look at futures. Let's get a little cleaner look here. Look at this garbage. You see what I'm saying? And 64.70. Was that still the most traded price of the month? Yes. This price right here is the most traded price of the month. And look to the left. Look how much trading has happened there. That's what I'm talking about, right? And look, we're right in the middle of Friday. Horrible location. Look to the left. All this congestion. You don't want to be caught up in all that. You're going to get chopped. Okay, unless I see a super, whoa, this is my setup. This is your ass going to get chopped up today on a Monday. Okay, it's just garbage. Okay. And you have to know, okay, in trading, right? This is the cues. When there's garbage. Okay? Because there's times to do stuff and times not to do stuff. It's just plain, and that is not easy to follow, I will say. Trust me. You know, I battle with that. It's a lot easier now for myself because I'm like, why am I gonna like manufacture? See what I'm saying? I showed you AMD, right? If this was like, I don't know, November or something like that, and AMD was at that level, I'd be like, yo, I'm going long AMD. But I don't like the way the markets are moving, right? I'd rather day trade. I'd rather get in and out in the same day. I don't want to hold something overnight. I have no clue. Look, I mean, look what we did last week. This is the Qs, but we came all the way down here, and look where we ended. We all went all the way up here. Who the heck knows that we're gonna do that, right? Who knows? It's very unpredictable, and we're just not doing anything, right? It's very hard to have a high conviction on something. That's my point, right? So if you know, documents how I'm not sure if Rosita's heard me much, but I've been super picky. I would say the last 2 months. I mean, super picky. I think I had 2 trades last week. Um, I mean, again, it was a shortened week, and then the prior week I was out most of the week. But uh, I'm not trading a lot. Why? Because market's disconnected every day. Okay, there's some outlier that's weak, but yet it makes the market hard to read. Not again, never hard to read, hard to trade. Okay, because you want all your ducks in a row when you trade. For me, and when they're not, yeah, there's some in the past I would just like, yeah, maybe that works, and you're forcing something, right? Forcing that square in a circle, and it usually doesn't end well. Okay, so back to the cues. Check it out. So what do we do? That's the prior week's range. We close inside the prior week. Inside the prior week. Okay. Nice tail here. You hit the 20-day simple moving average, right? But it closed inside the prior week. Where are we at now? Let's see. 578s. 578s. We're at last week's highs. Right now. We're in the middle of Friday. Horrible trade location. Okay? Can't stress that enough. Look at this garbage. Garbage. Look at where we're at. In the middle of all this trading. Okay? There's last week's lows, last week's highs. Now we're in the middle of last week. All right, we're in the middle of the prior week before that. Right now. Okay? It's just not good. Not a good location. That's what I'm saying, right? But if I say that, I have to honor that when I'm trading. I have to be like, okay, where are we at here? I'm not really. What am I doing here? Until somebody exhausts, like buyers exhaust, sellers exhaust. Okay, then we might have something. But if you're just chopping around, yeah, you're gonna get chopped up. Okay. Now, the only thing I'll show you guys from here is the 10-year yield. That had made a significant move finally. Okay, that is a significant move. Finally broke out of this. You're down to the 4.1s. Can we hit the 3.99 yield? Because people keep buying bonds, yields are going to go lower. That's very significant. Okay, dollar still hasn't done much. Dollar still hasn't done much. Okay, I'm gonna look. I'm just trying to see this hourly chart. Do I have any wisdom on the hourly chart here? I don't really think so. And we could do a quick. Actually, before I do that, let me give us some internals here. Okay, a little internal recap, just to show you the weakness that was there on Friday. So you can see behind here is the SPX, right? We opened up, and that was the only little strength, which is not strong. And then look at that. Woof. I mean, that was nasty sell-off. Like, it was just panic selling. And then finally, you bottomed at the previous day's lows. And then rose up, and we just barcode it. Barcode it. And finally got the drop that I thought would happen. And then that was it. We rose up, and then I was like, all right. Right? You could just see the weakness here. All right, you don't generally, when you're that weak in internals, you don't usually pop up that far, and we didn't. Okay, now moving on. Let's go over hourlies. I mean, maybe I can shed some light in here, but I don't think there's much to glean at here. Okay, this is hourly charts. I did drop a trading video over the weekend. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to see it. It is in my trade recaps channel in my Discord. It's also on all my social media. So, hopefully, you guys take a look at it. Let me know your thoughts. Okay. Now, let's look at this together. And like I said, this is not rocket science. None of this is rocket science, really. TA really gets easy the more you look at it. It's not hard. It's trading psychology and execution and finding a system is what makes trading hard. Okay. Hold on a sec. I got to reset my tool. I always say this. Maybe Documents is here. Maybe did he have another barbecue, or is he here? I'm not sure. He gets a late start now. Maybe Amalio's here. I'm not sure. I know Chief's pretty good at being in here. Um, Pancake. I haven't seen Pancake in a while. Let's see here. All right. So the only thing I'm going to note here is, okay, was Friday. Made those highs, right? Violent drop, and what we did do is leave a trace of single prints. That's this white box. We'll get into that in the Vine profile, but that is the single prints. That marks the emotional selling. Okay. And then where did we go? This was where we dropped earlier in the week. I set an anchored VWAP on this candle. And look what the market does with anchored VWAPs. Oh, first test, support. It tested it again. Support. This represents this day, the bottoming of Tuesday. So buyers are still in control from this level. Okay, that's how that lets me know. We also hit to the tick the week to date and month to date anchor VWAP last week. Look at that right there. That's why I have these on my charts, folks. I don't put anything on my charts that does not get reactions. Okay, now we know 6470 is a key level. Well, look what the market was doing, playing around this level. They gravitate towards these levels like magnets, and then you need to make a move, right? Makes a move in the overnights, and now we're up here. We're above this ultimate balance. That's bullish in a September month. That is bullish. I can't say it's not. It's bullish. All right. That's kind of all I want to really talk about there. Like you can see, look, you're in the middle of this big day. So it's just not a great place to be. All right. It's not. So let's go to the Qs. Now the Qs. Okay. NASDAQ. Same thing, anchored VWAP from the lows on Tuesday. Support, support, and look at that. Oh, support. Didn't even hit the month to date and week to date anchor VWAP. Now that they're together for that reason was the month started and the week started. So that's why they were together here. Now they're not. Okay, now it's the true month to date and this is the week to date. Okay. But see the support, right? See the support. So big single prints as well. So the NASDAQ structurally looks a little stronger. Okay. Now the 236s was a key most traded price of the month, right? And look what the market was doing. It came to it like a magnet and then it needed to make a move. Boop. Made the move. We're over 236s. That is bullish. That is bullish. We still have not made all-time highs. That is bullish. All right. That's how you use those levels. Otherwise, I mean, don't get me wrong. Other people can use trend lines and everything. But for me, it's just like, oh, we're over the most traded price of the month. All right. Over the most traded price of Friday. I got to be bullish. And that just means for like who's in control right now. Okay. All right. Moving on. It is a beautiful day. We're in Jersey here. What a beautiful morning. I'm looking outside. It's very sunny. Very sunny. All right. Let me change my workspace over. We are past 9 o'clock. Now I did get a later start today, so I'm trying to be quick here on these analysis here. All right, let's look at this together. And this is your market profile, volume profile analysis. I'm not sure if Chief's out there still. She might be just listening. And I'm just curious if she used my weekly expected move indicator yet. That takes about 2 seconds to do, but I'm curious if she's used that yet. She probably likes her Rosa Daza expected move indicator better, if I had to guess. Let's move on here. This is our weekly profile. So, exactly, I knew that was going to get a laugh there. This profile is kind of incomplete to the upside, okay? So that shows me there's not excess on this move, okay? And we're going to go into value area. Here's our value. Remember, that's 70% of the trading volume. And then we really don't have a good excess to the bottom. All right, and just by the profile, right? If I said this is incomplete, now look to the left. What do we have? There it is. We have a confluence high here at 64, 65.41. That is a big level, okay? That's RTH in an overnight. You can call that a confluence high. 5 minute delay. Oh, you're catching up, I'm assuming? That's what I'm assuming. He's catching up. Yeah, so he probably like is going to hear me talking about him in a little bit. That's good, Amalia. That's good. All right, so that right there, right now, look at the here. This shows me an incomplete to the downside, right? Let's look over here. What do we have? A confluence low, a 64.26. See what I'm saying? That's the beauty of the profile, right? Don't get me wrong. I can see this and I know that's a level, but it's beautiful to go, oh, incomplete. That must be, oh, there you go. There you go. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, do I need this? No, but it makes it so much easier. Okay, it makes it so much easier. And now look what we have, this little profile we have in the overnights here. It is a nice bullish imbalance. Okay, some people call that a P. Okay, I call it bullish imbalance. It has an imbalance to the bull side, right? Because most auctions always end like this. That's a distribution in nature, in everything. There's an equal distribution. 68.3 is one standard deviation on each side. Okay, that's your value area high, value area low. Okay, so I expect move to the upside. Now, I am working. Okay, I'm gonna start creating more content of how I look at markets, and I'm trying to be a little creative with it. So I'm working with like Veil 3. Been doing that this weekend. Pretty powerful. I want to put out a series of stuff that like it's like educational, like volume profile, right? Because not everybody knows about it, right? But it's the beauty in it is the simplicity. Just like I showed you here, the weekly composite profile. I knew this is incomplete. There you go, key level. I knew this is incomplete. There you go, key level, right? I know that this is incomplete to the upside. I know that this needs to be corrected like this. So it can predict the future with probability. Okay. Now, like I said, everything means probability means it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens most of the time. All right. So let's get into some levels. All right. We got a lot of levels to talk about here. All right. Now, big range, midpoint of the range is 64.97, 64.97. We are basically in the middle of the range of Friday. Like I said, garbage location. Okay, garbage location. Now I'm going to call 64.86s to the 64.70s ultimate balance. Markets above this ultimate balance, I'm bullish bias. Okay, I have a bullish bias. The price is right here, 65.04s. Okay, now there is demand here, right there, and we have another demand right here. This is all stacked demands on top of ultimate balance. Okay, it's going to be very hard unless there's catalyst to cut through all that and then cut through ultimate balance. Okay, now we have an incomplete profile to the upside, right? We also have we're about 90% net long in the overnights, in the at the top of the range. Fine, let's even better. Okay, we have single prints. Okay, emotional selling here, very thin volume in that move down. There's not going to take much to rip back up if the market firms up. Okay, we have our 64.50, our confluence highs, incomplete, right? That's a big level. You bust that up, we're probably going to move up higher, set new all-time highs. Okay, big supply zone here. We do have, what do we have here? Last week's lows is down here. Last week's highs. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the right level. Last week's lows is way down there. I'm sorry. Scratch that. This is last week's high. So that happens to be the 65.40 level. Okay? 65.40 level. All right? So, overnight lows go right line up with the basically the most shared price of the week. All right, that's your 64.86s. So it's all about a pullback here to go long. I mean, that's the only thing I'm seeing. That's high probability. All right. So let's look at it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to try to be a little quicker. I know I'm getting long-winded a little bit, but right off the bat, remember I said incomplete profile in the overnight makes me think that we're probably going to move higher. Okay. So what would I love to happen? Now this is the most traded price of the overnights right here, about 65.04ish, 65.05ish. Okay. Beautiful. What happened would be a nice pullback anywhere here to around ultimate balance to go up into this supply zone. All right, the supply zone starts. Oh, did I just move that? Oh, that's annoying. 65.13 about. There could be some selling in here. Okay, right here. So that would be a nice move. 64.86. That's a monster. That's a pretty good trade on a day trade. Okay. And why? Why do I think that? Because that profile needs to be cleaned up and put some excess in. Okay. Now, big supply zone here. I believe this is a 12-hour supply. Now, it is a 12-hour supply, but we really have a lot of single prints in here. So it could get ripped up pretty nice. But again, you have to see how the market, if it's strong or not. Honestly, folks, any pullbacks in here, the last one would be probably the overnight lows. We have to recover, retest here. That's it. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not interested in anything else. All right. Shorts. Well, we do have big supply zone here. We do have single prints. Remember, single prints should be cut through like a hot knife through butter. If this market, in this case, because you have emotional selling, strong market should rip through these single prints. Very thin volume here. Okay. If there's resistance, that's bearish. So, what do I expect? I remember I said I expect this profile to go up. So if we do get price to push up into this supply, and as a prior weekly level, okay, here's the end of singles. Maybe this is the point where you get a lower high and you can kind of go back, come through this most traded price at overnight. This should cause a move back down to ultimate balance, 64.86s, and then I would think we probably chop in here. But if we get out of ultimate balance, that is very ugly, and we can find ourselves in a very bad shape and maybe test this major 64.26 support level here. Like I said, it's Monday. We're in the middle of a big range. I don't think this is likely. I think this is likely, just to move to here. Okay. The conservatively, okay, you could wait for a break of ultimate balance, let's say. And let's say the market is weaker and weaker, and then you just want it to hold, find acceptance, maybe retest the 6470s to then try to push, break Friday's lows, and try to test this down here. Like I said, it's Monday. I don't know, but we also know Trump's talking, so I don't know. All right, so that is your ES. Oh, I didn't break this out. I'm sorry. I know that's probably easier on the eyes for some people. That's 30-minute bars. So we'll do that in the NASDAQ here. So let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, okay? Now, let's look at that profile. Profile here. We got incomplete to the downside. Yep. There's the levels. 233s, right? Not the best excess to the upside. There we go. There's the level. Our two, let's call it 230s. No, 239s. 239s. That is a monster level. Also, with a high volume node in it, you got to pay attention to that level. That level is composite high volume node is 239.30s. That encompasses a supply zone. That encompasses last week's highs. That encompasses this 239, this confluence high. It's a very key level. Okay. Now, we are higher up in the session of Friday. So 237s basically is your midpoint of Friday. We have single prints here. Okay. Notice the Q's structure is a little stronger. We do have the incomplete, the bearish, the bullish imbalance to this profile as well. A lot of stacked demand zones here. Okay. We're above the 236s. So we have a nice demand here. We have a stack demand here. Middle demand here. Okay, so stack demands just make me think bullish. Okay. Your 23650s is your overnight lows right to the tick to the most traded price of Friday. Okay, so remember, over 236s, you got to be bullish. Got to be bullish. Okay. We don't really have much to worry about. This is the most traded price of the week, 23430s down here. I don't think we're really going to be dealing with this, really. Okay. So the NASDAQ looks to me more bullish than the ES, okay? So what do I want to see? Okay. I wouldn't want this excess to be put in yet, really. I would like a pullback into this demand. That's around your 23720s or 23730s maybe. If you get this, then you can break those overnight highs and try to clean up those single prints and go up to this supply zone. That supply zone is 23871s, 23871s. Okay, and then I'd be so shocked if we break these 23930s. I'd be shocked. Okay, you probably go up and hit somewhere right to there. And I'm supposed to be green for bullish, so let's just boop, boop, boop. There we go. Okay, now, even if we open up, and let's say we put the excess in and we just take this out, fine. You got single prints right here, thin volume. Come right into Friday's close. That's your 23675s. And into this double demand zone, right to the most traded price. You can lift right off from here and start to work yourself off. Okay. Now, all the way to 236s, I'm probably still bullish. Now, if we drop fast, which I would prefer, the market doesn't get too weak, then you retest this and you can start to work off this. Okay. Moving on to bear side. Now, I'm not ecstatic on the bear side. Really not. Okay. So, what could be in my favor is open up, make the excess here in this bullish imbalance, right? Hit the top of the singles. Clean those single prints, right? Well, you don't clean them because you don't clean them fully because you need RTH to clean the whole thing. Come through this most traded price at overnight. That is your 23780 about. If you get this through here, You're going to flush most likely most of these longs out. You're going to test this support, and then you can go down to the overnight lows. I would think that's a beautiful trade. Okay, maybe you hit the 236s. I think that's probably it. You bounce. This is gravy if you take out 236s and you break out and see Friday's lows, month to date anchored view up, and then you get your most traded price. I don't think that's in the cards. Now again, Trump can say something, something can happen in the market. I don't know. Okay. Now, this is the one other scenario. If we just rocket up into this key level 239s, right? Last week's highs, and tap this 23930s, this high volume composite, this composite high volume node, right? And we do one of these, and let's say we do this very quickly, and I'm like, oh man, this market's not very strong. This could be a nice sell-off. Okay. Maybe we start to form a balance area. I don't know. Okay, so that's it for me, folks. Hope you enjoyed that analysis. Smash the like button if you did. That'd be much appreciated. Okay. Now, as always, if you could join me every morning, I'll give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, right? Let me be your coffee, your tea, your water in the mornings. Let me be your podcast, just like Rosa here, right? She very rarely probably watches it. She listens to it, right? And she tells me, oh, I don't need to hear anything. I don't need to read anything. I just listen to your channel, which that's another thing I'm going to do is probably make some type of commercial, as not a better term I was going to say, using the new tools that I'm going to use. Try to be creative and get more people to view my channel. I know I give golden nuggets. I know I do. That's not a question. It's just a matter of I want to make it appeal to the masses, right? And I know my technical analysis won't appeal to the masses. I understand that, but the beginning part of my stream should. Okay, beginning part of my stream should. All right, and also I want to build up what Discord, right? Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage. Click on the link. Sign up. Sign up. Okay, sign up. Do me a favor. Join the community and see real time, meaningful, meaningful analysis. Okay, use me as your indicator. All right, now everybody, it's pretty late. All right, I went pretty extra long than I wanted to. Start later. So everybody have a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade, and hopefully I see you in the Discord. If not,